Hey, in this video I want to respond to accusations of sexual misconduct and power dynamics with two of my favorite teachers, you could say, whom both of them I've been on retreat with, and I'm not super close to them. I've only seen them once in my life, but over the internet you watch their videos and somehow you feel that you're in their process. So in some way the accusations, let's say, of their misconduct, for me, were not nice to hear, let's say. But looking back, I do see some things that I want to address when it comes to spiritual teachers, you could say, or non-duality teachers, Vita teachers, or any type of spiritual teacher. And I think the first perspective I want to give is that realization, or the whole spectrum from awakening to enlightenment to liberation, is different. As in, with each person, that unfolds in a different way. You do have, of course, similar states you could hit that you can recognize with people, but not everybody that teaches online, big teachers, small teachers, have reached the same state. As in, the most famous teachers are not per se the teachers who have gone deepest. Or not all teachers on the internet or out there are liberated or are enlightened even. They haven't really reached that sort of boundless state where the center or the person really dissolved. And so that's one perspective. And when there is not a state where all human preferences fall away, no. I'm saying that, but let's say my experience with all these states, but also with people interacting with these states, is that everybody still has human preferences. They still like to eat, they still like an attractive partner, they still like to be happy, they still have their off days or their bad days, not where they may be depressive or something like that, but everybody is still human. They all suffer still from the human condition, and maybe suffering is not the right word, but let's say they're all still human. They still have human preferences. So when you put somebody in a situation where everybody adores them, then some of the behaviors are really predictable then. And I wouldn't blame that on realization, I would blame that on being human in general. And in Buddhism, there's a big emphasis on morality as well as realization. And that has to do with some of this misconduct, which is almost standard sometimes in the traditional sort of spiritual communities with the teacher. So that's another thing which I see, is that when you build a sort of community and you live in that community and you're the teacher and you're seen as a sort of special person and you're put on a pedestal, then you're gonna get some diva behaviors, let's say. And that's, I think, as a teacher, really, that might be really hard to counter, because some people will try to adore you. And I think when they try to kiss your feet or when they try to make you special, it's up to you to correct them, and maybe correct them hard even, because otherwise it leads to these power dynamics where you're, as a teacher, you're the superhuman. And that's not the case. You're still human. So I think with realization, especially if you go deeper, let's say, it should be very clear that, or the you in itself is dissolved, There's the traditional sense of enlightenment is no person, no self, right? And of course there's still somebody there, there's still a human, but there's no identification or there's no center to that experience from the inside. That's hard to see on the outside, especially if you haven't gone through these states, it's hard to recognize that in other people. It's hard to recognize even when you have been in these states. So I think to know if a teacher is legit, that is, very hard in itself. Do the teachings resonate? I think is one. And how's their behavior one-on-one? How's the behavior in the community? So any type of specialness should fall away, because that is related to the ego. If you're saying that I'm different than you, then you create subject-object, and that's a duality, right? That's something that you wanted to dissolve. You could say ego. So all specialness should fall away with realization. You're not special. And in a way, of course, how every piece of molecule is different is special, but let's say you're not more special than somebody else is special. So I think that's a big thing, that teachers are being put on a pedestal and somehow they're agreeing to that. And then when it comes to sort of sexual wants and likes and needs, I think just teachers are still humans. It's just like, it's not that they've lost their humanity or something. So of course, let's say if you have these male teachers and they get all these attractive women that want to be with them, I think they're gonna fall for that. I think they're going to go for that, and not everybody. So of course, a lot of teachers not as well. But when you're susceptible to that, then that can definitely happen. So, and then the girl might only like you because you're a good teacher, and they think that you're special somehow, even though you're not, or not more special than she is, or he is, or whatever your potential partner might be. So with that, it sets up this power dynamic, which is very destructive. And it sets up a sort of Me Too dynamic, which as a teacher, you then participate in. So it's sad to see some of the teachers who I still think are amazing teachers and are saying amazing things, to see them act out, let's say, or to hear that they've been acting out, whether that's true or not. But let's say there are some consistencies to those acquisitions, that it's sad to see if people are not still seen for being great teachers. For example, I saw Wild Wild Country. It's a documentary about Osho, Bhagwan Ranish. Probably saying that wrong, but who knows. It's a great documentary, and you also see that some of the misconduct, let's say, behind the scenes, and I've read about that as well, that there was just a free-for-all, let's say. And yeah, so the interesting thing is that I've talked to one teacher in particular, which is a teacher I like, is Jim Newman. He's a non-duality teacher. And he is very adamant on not being special, and he's a very nice guy to connect with. And he said, for example, that I talked to him once and said, isn't it, let's say, better to be realized, or in his terms, lose the contraction? And he says that basically, if it's not per se better, because if you're an asshole, you become an unlimited asshole. Right? So if you're prone to bad behaviors, you could say, then this will make you boundless and filterless in a way. And it might, if your bad behavior is based on some of the, let's say, some of the shadows from your past, you might transmute those into positive behaviors. But you might also, if you're just prone to bad behavior, you might also be filterless with your bad behavior. So to have good people around you to correct you and to take in that advice and to want to be okay. Josh Putnam told me also, be okay with being wrong. It's like that's a very important thing. To not think that you have the truth or something like that, or that there is an end point to realization, or that there's an end point to wisdom, or so even without a self, you need to reflect in some way on that you're not making other people suffer with your behavior. So I think that's coming back to the morality piece. Is like, even though you're a filterless person, still take in that feedback, right? And especially if you go deeper into realization, I think it will become harder for you not to, let's say it will become harder to ignore some of the feedback that you're feeling of other people, because their feeling is your feeling, and that those boundaries are not there. So that makes it even harder for me to think that somebody that's really deep in realization would do these things, let's say. Even though I still think a lot of the teachings I've listened to from some of the teachers who've been accused of misconduct, I think those teachings are still amazing, right? So it's hard to see, it's hard to talk about also a little bit for me, but I still wanted to talk about this because when a teacher puts themselves on a pedestal or says that he is more special than you in any way, leave the place, because it's not true. And I'm not special, more special than you are special. You could say I'm special, but then you are special as well, just as special. So when you're watching my videos, I don't want you to look at me as some guy that is better in any way than you are, because that's not the case. We're both the universe. I get the pun. We are the universe. We are this, and there's no boundaries. There's just this perfect loving consciousness, nothingness, consciousness, nothingness, and not something where there's this definite endpoint, or where normal human values make no sense anymore or shouldn't be upheld. Let's say because somebody is realized they shouldn't make you suffer, let's say. So I know that some of these situations might be in the gray, who knows, but that's something to go with. And I think creating a sort of personality cult around yourself is a very bad sign of unawakened behavior to me. So I want to end with that. Much love. Thanks for watching. Let's say anything that you see out there, whether it's a sports star or whether it's a teacher that's saying amazing things, you can celebrate what's happening through them, right? But know that they are the messenger. It's just this. You could say it's all God. So when somebody's speaking and you like it, it's God speaking. It's not about the person, it's about this. It's about consciousness, it's about nothingness, it's about reality, it's about this. It's not about that person. So the beautiful teachers you see, they're teaching, they're just a messenger when they're teaching. They're not the source of that. Because the source is, there's only one source, and it's in everyone. It's everywhere. It's everything. So much love to you, my friend. Bye.